Okay, well, it's lovely to see lots of familiar faces in here today, but for those who don't know me, I'm Tracy Liddell. I'm a member of the Manimation Advisory Committee and also a producer at Studio Liddell, which is a 10-minute brisk walk from here in Manchester. And our studio has been a proud member of Animation UK since it started several years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. Yeah, a while ago now. And like many of you, I was at the Animation UK update session in Sheffield at the CMC conference. And it was good to get an update to hear more about how it's going to be a little bit more new, improved, supercharged as an organisation. So now seemed like a fantastic opportunity really to find out how those plans have moved on, particularly echoing a lot of the things that Kat said today about how times are changing, the economy is different, the political situation is different. So it feels like really now's the right time to really give our kind of proper professional organised trade body a bit of oomph so it can do some really good lobbying for the industry. Lots of other countries already have an organisation like this. Animation Ireland has been established, who luckily I think gets support from the government as well, which I'm not sure we will, but we'll battle on anyway. And in October it was announced that there's an Animation Europe starting as well. So I think it's really important that in the UK we're seen to have a really good, strong, professionally recognised trade organisation that can speak for the UK in Europe and worldwide as well. So lots has been happening behind the scenes since the summer. Literally in the last week, lots has been happening. So you'll see in your programme it suggests that Ollie's going to be the only speaker, but we've got slightly more than Ollie here today. So things have been moving at quite a pace, and I'm pleased to say we've got some scorching hot off the press news to share with you today about how the organisation is going to move on. So initially I'm going to hand over to Ollie to begin, but we'll also hear from David Sproxton, Neil Hatton, Helen Hunsden and Kate O'Connor about the roles that they'll take in the new organisation. If we have time, because there's lots to get through, we'll do some questions at the end. But if we run out of time, I think most of the panel are here for most of the day, so I'm sure they'll be happy to catch up with you at breaks and lunch and drinks at the end if they're still around, if you've got any more questions at that stage as well. Okay, so thank you, and Ollie, over to you.
Maurice here?
Yeah,
okay. Hi everybody. Good to be here. Sorry, it's me talking again. This process is me reversing out. I know it's taking an awfully long time. I'm sure you'd like to hear other people talk, so I'm going to move on as quickly as possible. So in Sheffield, and I guess this process of trying to become a funded membership organisation has been happening for about a year. We mentioned it briefly at the event in April and before that. So what we talked about at the last event, if you weren't there, was do we go it alone, or do we try and find a way of sharing some of the expenses with a like-minded organisation in terms of administration and all the back end that goes with it, because obviously initially a lot of money would get sucked into that and would mean we would have less we could do. So we put a proposal on the table at Sheffield and the feedback was largely positive. If we could save money and move forward as part of something bigger, that was the most positive thing to do. And we've gone ahead on those grounds with a number of large, medium and small players in our industry feeding into conversations to work out what those next stages be. Before we go into the detail of that, what I thought I'd do, as Aardman was so instrumental, it was 2007 when I first went to see, at the time, Mr. Hunt about trying to get a tax break for animation. And instrumental to that from the start were Aardman, many different people, right from the very first meetings through to helping fund the report, through to Kerry Locke helping us once we got to the tax credit, help shape and form how that could work. So I think it's probably be nice if we could hear from the people the day after the government announced it. They were on the front page of The Sun, a picture of George Osborne, if you remember, in the wrong trousers. It'd be nice if we could hear from Aardman about sort of why they've been supporting it and why they're continuing to support it.
Thanks, Ollie. It does go back a long way. I was on the UK Film Council for my duration 3 years, and of course the feature film tax break went through. And John Woodward, who was the Chief Executive of Film Council then, did an extraordinary job in the first tax break of getting the Treasury and the Inland Revenue into the same room. I mean, he should be given a knighthood for doing that. Because what you discover is that the government departments as you'll know, don't really talk to each other. There's a complete disconnect, and particularly with those bodies, one's collecting money, one's giving it away, and they do not want to talk to each other. So, as you know, the first tax break was mostly around features, and there were whole issues around how it got, as they say, abused, and the second go round. But that political negotiation was pretty profound, actually. It's quite a tricky thing to do. What's happened since then is that, as you know, the Film Council, the industrial side of the industry, the industrial lobby group, basically got closed down, and their work got handed over to the BFI. And I hope there's nobody from the BFI here, because I think we all felt that, probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I'm going to, it's been very, very hard for the BFI to pick up that industrial mandate. Let me say no more than that. So a chasm opened up in terms of what happens in this industry. We actually, just before, between feature film tax break and this tax break, actually we signed up for the CBI. I never thought I would be a member of the CBI, good left-leaning Labour Party supporter. But we realised that they have the ear of the government and they get taken seriously, and you need a body like that. And actually, they looked up to the creative industries some time ago and actually done a pretty good job, and particularly in our region. And I've been quite impressed by them. An awful lot of what they do isn't really relevant to what we do, but their approach to government and the stats that they put out, the figures they put out, are really quite significant. And then you realise, this Creative Industries Council's been set up. Well, what's that? Huge body of people over a very, very diverse range of industries. And then the Creative Industries Federation gets set up. Huge body of people across a huge range of industries. Where do we sit in the animation industry, which, if you think back, was what, in a way, the tax breaks were predicated on. They wanted to bring inward investment, mostly from America, into UK studios to drive the industry actually through London, and particularly the visual effects houses. Those guys, we knew probably 10 years ago, when we talked to Skillset at the Film Council, that if those tax breaks work well, and this was the early days of Harry Potter, there will be a skills shortage. And we've hit that skills shortage. That was predicted about 10 years ago. Money's flowing into the UK from Hollywood, basically. The studios are really, really full. The visual effects houses have probably never seen brighter days. But we haven't got a progressive training educational program in this country to take kids all the way through from probably 15 or 16-year-olds through to 25-year-olds. And I think part of what this lobby needs to do is to show where those gaps are and how we can put together a lobby government for actually a more structured training approach, a more progressive system, which you see on the continent, particularly Germany, France, and places like Poland, which have a much more structured approach for young creative talent. So that's why we signed up. We've got the animation industry, which is so much at the heart of the visual effects industry now. It's not just about colouring in. There's a huge amount of character animation that goes into those big films, alongside all the TV work that all the guys here do. But it doesn't get seen. It doesn't get on the radar of government. Partially because a lot of small companies. I was saying to somebody yesterday, even if you walk around Soho as a punter, you would never know what goes on behind those doors. Huge amount of creative endeavour, a massive economy, a massive business. And our business, the animation business, is very much a business. It's a huge business. And it simply isn't on the political radar because it's not visible. It's visible on the screens, but nobody knows where it's done. It's not like we're driving Stobot lorries around the place with animation stamped all over it. Maybe we should. So that's really what it's about. Can we have a single powerful voice in amongst those other players which are trying to galvanise the creative industries in all its forms? And we get a little bit sidelined. Well, it's probably one of the strongest aspects of the media and creative industries. If you think about, the family animated films, the Pixar's, the DreamWorks of the world, these are the films which really hit bonanza times, massive box office. No films do better than those big family CGI features and some of the stuff that we do. And a lot of them, Shaun the Sheep's a great example, effectively a feature film coming out of a TV program, which for us is a massive brand and a massive piece of business for us. So that's why, in a curious, potted, slightly political nutshell, we are great supporters of this, getting that recognition, and I think going with UK Screen will be a great thing, because that back office and actually having that voice, having those direct contacts and getting politicians understanding where an awful lot of young people want to work, what a massive opportunity for jobs. To be blunt about it, it could be if they get it right.
Brilliant, thank you. So you touched on many subjects there that are really dear to my heart, what I've been campaigning for the last 8 years. So things like data and skills, and showing the government what we're actually worth. When I go into meetings, I'll always say they always just look at what's gone through the tax credit, which could be as little as sort of 34 million in value animation at. Whereas in reality, if we look at the sector as a whole, across advertising, across everything we do, we think there's about 1.5 billion pounds worth of animation coming out of this country. Again, that's a figure that is a bit finger in the air, but that's because we've never had the opportunity to get proper figures. That's what we need. That's what we need to show the government. That's when we'll be able to push for more support and to grow our industry further. So it's so important we're properly represented. The conversations have been happening. We have come to an agreement with UK Screen. There's still much to decide, so I don't want you to think we've done this like deal by deal. There's much to decide and much to do. But I'm going to hand over to these guys who are the future of the organisation, not me, the future of the organisation, to explain a little bit more about it. I don't know who wants to say. Yeah, you got
Morning everybody. So to introduce myself, I'm Neil Hatton. I'm the CEO of the UK Screen Association. For those of you who are not familiar with the organisation, we've been going as a membership trade body for 12 years now, representing the service provision layer of the TV and film industry. So visual effects houses, post-production, studios, equipment hire, anybody who provides a service. When I saw Ollie appear in Broadcast magazine back in March, April, something like that, talking about what he wanted to do with Animation UK, at that moment I thought, this is a big opportunity for us to join together, because we do very similar things. We have very similar policy areas which are important to us. And as Dave has, I mean, you said virtually everything I was going to say. Thank you for that. But it's, well, no, really thank you, because it's much better coming from you than it is coming from me. Visual effects is so similar to animation. The skills and the roles, very similar. And one of the things that I wanted to add to what Kat had said, with Brexit, there's a big skills agenda here as well. Not just because we need to up our game in getting people right the way through, as you say, from school right through to being experienced operators in the industry, but also because with Brexit we have challenges around access to the global talent pool, which is going to be a big issue for certainly for visual effects, and I suspect will be a big issue for many parts of animation too. So I was in at DCMS on Monday presenting a paper to them about that particular problem, and was able to allude, without giving away the fact that we were going to announce this today, that animation also would likely have the same issue. And we have something like 25% of EU workers in visual effects. I suspect animation may be similar or even higher. So that's a really important, I mean, there is no better time than the present to be part of the trade body. It's never been better to be part of the trade body, never been so important to have that one really loud voice saying the same thing to government, and they're receptive to it at the moment. They're very receptive. So it's really important that you all join the trade body, and we get on with this now, and we're ready from today. We're ready because UK Screen is already formed. So we're going to change the name, and if you could put the slide up for me. You'll see there we have Animation UK and UK Screen. Add the name council to that. So you have two councils sitting under an umbrella body called UK Screen Alliance, where the board of directors will sit. It's already formed. There's an executive team already formed. We're going to talk about a bit more about that in a moment. And below that, a whole load of working groups to actually drive the policy forward. So there was a big shared remit, particularly around skills, but also we'll have tax breaks. There's all the Brexit issues as well. There are animation-specific issues. There are facility-specific issues as well. So we'll have working groups, some which are shared, some which are separate. But that's the basic structure of how we're going to move forward. So there's a big loud voice there in the Animation UK Council, that will lead that forward, and we expect the founder members of Animation UK to be the members of that council. We hope that they will all sit on that council and decide the policy going forward. So, I also ought to announce the fact that why Kate and Helen are sitting here is that they're also going to be part of the team, and they're here specifically to drive the animation remit forward. But also, there are, because of these shared areas, obviously they have a reputation in the skills area, and we'll be able to leverage that across the cross-sectoral issues, and that's a really exciting prospect. So,
yeah, I should probably point out at this point, when I started looking, writing names down on the list of people who could possibly take over, and actually, these guys were right at the top of my list because I'd worked with.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
God.
can say it.
We're getting into this. What I would say here is in Helen, you've got someone that you will all surely recognise as a face of being around the industries for maybe a few years, maybe a few. She has the best contact diary through all the work she's done. She knows everybody, and she will be an absolute brilliant driving force for you guys to contact and feed into, and for our industry. And I've known Kate now through her work at Creative Skill Set. She has a lot of experience in our industry. I would say not as much knowledge and detail as Helen, but where she's great, I took her to her first meeting at the government meeting with the creative industries sector advisory group, and she just knew everyone already. So that's more than I do, and I've been going for about 5 years. So she fitted in straight away, and she knows everybody on that side of things. So together, they're a fantastic team. And when we set out, as I say, I thought I had cat and hell's chance of getting them both, or either, and now we have got them both. So I think it's a really, really fantastic team, which when you put it together with a team already formed from the UK, what will now be the UK Screen Facilities Council under one umbrella. It sounds complicated. It's actually not that complicated. It sounds complicated, but it's not. I think it's an amazing opportunity for us all to get this information, data, and everything we've been trying to lobby for, and I haven't had time to over the past 5 years, all in one place, pushing forward. So I couldn't be more excited. I don't know who would like to speak about the next steps on forming the councils and how things are going to work with those. Anyone? Or do you want me to keep talking?
Yeah. You keep talking, but we can interject.
Okay, so what needs to happen now, these councils we talked about needs to be represented by the industry. So a number of people have already put their names forward. We are also going to look to the people who have funded it to this point. There's been an amount of money already committed. So we're going to look to those people to form sort of interim council to get us through to next year, which brings us into line with when the other councils are voted in and out. I will, sadly for all of you, stay on as sort of an interim chair until you have the opportunity to vote me out, which will be happening at some point midway next year. Midway next year. So we are looking for volunteers. So we'll put their names forward.
And regionally.
Regionally, absolutely regionally.
Yeah.
We've talked about having our committee meetings at regionally as well, or certainly a portion of them. Some events like this, some in Sheffield, maybe the events that Greg run in London. So we move them around. Over and above the effects houses who are majorly based in London, I think our industry is very, very well spread and does need to be represented properly right across the country. So that's the next thing on the list. There is also an opportunity for us to have the overarching chair for UK Screen Alliance. So we're looking again someone that's well known in the industry and that can represent the whole structure. What am I missing out? Lots of things, I'm sure.
I think one of the interesting things is we'll have obviously the executive team will be independent of any of the businesses, because I'm permanently employed and I'm not allied to any particular business in any sector. So that means that when we are asking for data, obviously business critical data, business confidential data. We need that data in order to be able to drive any campaigns that we do with government. Data is what they need. They need figures. They need to know the impacts. So we will be absolutely confidential about any data that comes to us. So that's one of the advantages of having an independent executive team, which you haven't had before. So you'll be able to feed all of that into us.
Yeah, you don't have to send me your budget.
That's
and
right.
profit and loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that we have got, we've already got within UK Screen Association, as was, it's not just about advocacy, it's also about member benefit, which I think is another important point, because each one of you will have different reasons for wanting to join. The advocacy obviously is hugely important, and we do that on behalf of the industry, and to a certain extent you benefit from it whether you're a member or not. But what we want to encourage you to do is to join and be part of the organisation and participate. And to encourage you to do that, we also provide some exclusive benefits as well. So there will be events, there's lots of discounts on all sorts of stuff that we've already got in place. If you fancy flights to Los Angeles, we've got discounts on those as well. But there's all of that is part of the fact that we're up and running today. That's the important thing. So don't hold back. Don't think, oh, we'll see how it goes for 6 months, because it's all in play now. All this Brexit stuff is really making it very urgent that we get your input and your information so that we can build the case necessary to make sure that the industry is protected, but also can seize the opportunities that are coming along. It depends on what kind of Brexit we get, but there are opportunities to be had.
I think the really important thing would be the first time we've ever really had all of our skills under one roof. I think we'll pick up about 90% of sort of all the companies that are operating on our skill base and will have studied the courses we've studied, will have the same sort of hopes and dreams and aspirations for our industries as I'm sure you all do as well. So there's a huge impetus to get moving now. A lot of you have pledged money already. Invoices have gone out to a lot of you already. And then there's a whole list of you who pledged what I've called smaller amounts. We took the bigger amounts first to get going. So please get involved, not just in putting your money in, but get involved, get on the council, get what you want these guys doing, because it can't just come from me anymore. You guys have got to tell them what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's brilliant. That is exactly the next stage where we need to turn the wish list into a clear set of priorities, and you tell us how we can take those forward. And I just wanted to say, I think just listening to everyone's contributions this morning, from Kat Lewis, who talked about all of the various organisations that are beating the drum for the creative industries, and I sat there thinking it's a bit like one of those Russian dolls, isn't it? And it goes all the way to the top in terms of the Creative Industries Federation and the Creative Industries Council. But what animation has never had is that ability to focus around just animation. And we've got to be really skillful at making all of those links and alignments with PACT and APA and UKI, as well as all those government bodies and all other organisations. And partly that's what I will support the council to do, to kind of get on with that stuff, and support Neil to do, who with Victoria here in the audience are the full-time members of staff. But the real thing that myself and Helen are excited about doing is getting stuff done. Whether that's about collecting data for the first time, sorting out a proper strategy for skills and making that happen, or anything that you think needs to be on our wish list that can be turned into a priority list, because we can't do everything at once. That's where we need to get to, and we need to get there soon. And the vehicle for that is the Animation UK Council, and the machine for that is the UK Screen Alliance, and it's so exciting. It's such a good partnership.
We mentioned the Brexit impact on skills. If that were not enough, we also have simultaneously the apprenticeship levy to deal with, and we're already deeply engaged in that. I know that Animation are trying to get some apprenticeship standards put together. We've got 3 developed. Visual effects have got 2 standards which are already having apprentices on them. So there's a lot of knowledge about the apprenticeship levy already within the organisation, but we need to amplify that a lot more, because there are many more roles where there are no standards at all. So we need to build those. And for all of you, I think Dave's comment about HMRC not talking to Treasury, but HMRC don't talk to DFE either, and that's the kind of apprenticeship levy scenario. HMRC will be collecting the money, and DFE will be effectively giving it out. But we need to make sure that the creative industries, it works for the creative industries. There's many rough edges on it, but we have to get on with it and embrace it, because it's happening from April. So the money will be collected from those of you who are big enough to have it collected from you. And if you don't use that money, it disappears within 2 years. I think for a lot of the animation companies, you will be non-levy payers. So there's a massive opportunity for you, because you can effectively get 90% of the training costs paid for by the government.
There's a panel about that this afternoon, actually. So sort of we can pick up on that, because it might be put off to some of the companies by their SPVs and things. So I just wanted to mention that, going back a step to what we were saying in Sheffield in July about Animation UK, it hasn't really changed in so much as our key areas, which are business, culture and skills. Yeah. And we do have to prioritise what we're doing, but not to forget about the culture arm, really, about what we're saying about heritage and sort of driving forward. Dave and I were talking about short films, the lack of short films represented in festivals, you from the UK. And also the brilliant work, and I'm really happy to be here. We're not full time. We should mention that, shouldn't we? So we're sort of talking on a monthly basis how many days and hours we're giving to the organisation, whilst continuing doing our freelance work, and I'll still sit with my creative skill set hat on as well. So,
and some of those other things will definitely benefit Animation UK. We'll bring it all home.
It's all joining up.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact. I know, I've run this off, basically off the industry and favours and things people will do for me, and that is not going to change. We need you. It's not a case of pay your money and sit back and hope it will happen. This is meant to make your voice louder, not make it easier. So we're still going to need you guys getting involved. There's going to be a call out now for new stuff to populate the Animation UK logo. Just simple things that we need everyone to get involved with. Need your enthusiasm and input, and as PACT are doing, we may need people to lobby. We may need people to go and see their MPs. There's lots and lots that needs to be done, and so it's not a step backwards for you guys. It's a small step backwards for me, but it's a massive step forwards in terms of profile and what we'll be able to achieve with some money on the table. And I'm massively excited.
Can I just say, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I just want to say, while Ollie has been trying to reverse out, we have been trying to put the brakes on that, because we all know how much he's done and how much time and effort and advocacy and impact that Ollie's had. And for this new venture, we need him, and that's why we persuaded him not to completely reverse out, even though there's a few other things going on in his life. So he is there still to be the chair. I'm there to support him in an executive capacity, go to the meetings he can't attend, do your work in that whole arena and work with Helen to take things forward. But we're not, and we're not there for losing Ollie, but I just want to say what an amazing pleasure it is to work with him, and that I'm looking forward to continuing.
She's the
that.
first person.
It's amazing, and I know everyone thinks that. So I just wanted to say that from the platform, and we owe this.
Yeah, it's not about me legging it. It's about doing more.
Yeah, we won't let you leg it.
So, we're going to be around all day, and there's a lot more to talk about on this, far more than we've got in this session, which I know is coming to an end. So please, there's a press release which will be by the doors as you go out for coffee. Not immediately, because there's another session, but when you do go out, do pick one of those up. And as I say, we'll be around all day. I'm very happy to answer questions and give you more detail about this, as we all are. So please do come and chat and tell us what you think.
and what you want. It's your
Yes.
thing. I can't say anything. It's your thing. Tell us what you want. Tell them what you want.
Well, thank you very much.